Hey everyone, in today's chess video, I'm playing black in my favorite opening, the Philidor defense, where I beat my opponent using a common trap that you guys must know. Let's get straight into it. Alright, today we have a black game over here, so we're going to be playing on the black side against the white pieces. You guys know the drill. Yesterday we had a Kali Zukertort game, today we're going to have a Philidor game. So in this position, as you guys know, we're always going to be attacking the weaknesses, the e4 pawn. One of the biggest things you can do, one of the best things you can do in the Philidor is just put a lot of pressure on this e4 pawn. It really is the point of this opening. Now, our opponent decides to push early. I never really liked this from the opponent. I always feel like these moves are not very good. It allows me to play c6 extremely early, allows me to attack the pawn, allows me to say to the opponent, hey, you can't defend your pawn with a c pawn in this position. And because you can't do this, this is not great for you. He's pinning me, I'm going to block the pin. These pins are never anything that we are really scared about. They're not really useful, to be honest. They don't really do much. And so in this position, we're actually threatening something. We're threatening to take the pawn. If knight captures, and if bishop captures our bishop, we capture back. So let's show it. Pawn captures pawn. Pretty simple, to be honest. He captures back. Boom. Knight takes, and this is what I call the loop-de-loop strategy, because our knight loops all the way back over here. Now in this position over here, well, he captures my d6 pawn, which I suppose is something. But I'm just going to cast, I'm going to keep my king safe. And if my opponent decides to take here on e5, he's just silly. So I don't assume he's going to do that, because I believe I have queen a5 check, which just wins the knight to 2. So as you guys can see, boop, boop, free pieces everywhere in this position. I'm going to win it. I'm going to win a lot of material, and then I'm going to just win the game, hopefully. I'm up 2 pieces here for 2 pawns, so I need to make sure that his his 2 pawns over here don't promote, obviously. But other than that, relatively simple, to be honest, in how to finish this game. So, let's wait for our opponent. I think he's looking for the resign button right now. It often takes a little bit. I think he's looking. Or maybe he's thinking about, oh, he's not. And I guess we can take a look at this game. Yeah, this game is essentially over at this point, but you guys can take a look at this game as how, a titled player converts their chess games. Now, my opponent's pretty smart here. It doesn't trade. Now, I'm going to just take this pawn over here because it is probably the most annoying pawn in the opponent's position, because it's the pawn that is the most forward, and it's in the center. Now, in this type of position, this is what I'm going to do. So this is what I always try to do, and I think it's a very good strategy, is I just make sure that all my pieces are developed first. You guys have probably heard before that people always say to trade off the pieces, but when you're ahead of material, which is good advice. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm not going to be trying to trade off the pieces. What I'm going to try to do instead is I'm going to try to look for counterplay. Counterplay from the opponent, and I'm going to try to stop that. So in this position, as you guys can see over here, this rook is aiming at my queen. There's a lot of things that could be annoying. Now, in this position, technically, I shouldn't even be afraid of it. There isn't really anything that he can do about it. But just to be on the safe side, for people at your level, people at the lower levels, guys, I think one of the best things you can do is just make sure things are safe. Just put your pieces on safe squares. That way, nothing bad can ever happen to you guys, and yeah, life is good, essentially. So he's going to play his bishop over here. I'm going to offer a trade in this position, but still developing my pieces. I'm not going to move my pieces backwards. I'm going to move them forwards to attack my opponent in this position. So, oh, okay, he plays that. That makes a lot of sense. I guess I could play bishop e6 to try to trade even more. And I suppose in this position, that trade is actually not too bad. I could also try to play knight over here, which creates threats, but it doesn't keep my pieces developed, which is not great. But he could play h3, I could play knight over here, but I think we just play bishop e6 in this position. I think we just try to trade off the pieces as best as we can in these type of positions here, because now that our pieces are all developed, we're not worried about the counterplay anymore. Before I was worried because we had very little development, but now that all our pieces are developed, our opponent's pieces are forced to go backwards. This is good for us in these type of positions. So again, we're just going to develop all our pieces. Once our pieces are developed, there's no advantage our opponent has here compared to us. And I believe this move over here probably forces our opponent to trade, because if not, I'm just going to take on h2, or I'm going to take on f2, so our opponent has to play queen g3, or I guess he could play this move too. Not a move that I expected, but can I not just play g5? This move looks like a risky move, but it really isn't, because the idea is so simple. I'm going to force you to go to g3. Otherwise, I'm going to take some fun stuff here, and then I'm going to win. This move might look weakening, but if it trades off the queen, not really a problem, guys. Not really a problem. So, g5, the queen has to go back. I mean, what else? What else is gonna do? What else is gonna do here? Queen's gonna go back. Queen's gonna go back. He's thinking very hard about how not to. Oh, I guess he could do this. He could just let me take. He really doesn't want to trade off the pieces. He's willing to sacrifice the king in order to not trade off the pieces. Not generally advised. I don't think this is a good idea. In this position, you could just check him over here, but the king escapes over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to play rook over here. And the idea here is very simple. Rook here stops the king from escaping. And not only does it stop the king from escaping, if he tries to play g3 to stop queen h1 checkmate, I just take on f2 with my rook, and it's checkmate anyways in this type of position. Our opponent has to play something like queen h3, but it's still over because of rook f2. So by not letting us trade the queens, which is what we wanted to do, it kind of just gives us the win anyways. This is the type of trades that you guys want to do. This is a little bit more advanced thing than just saying, oh, let's trade off the pieces when we're up in material. Is that you want to make all your pieces so good that your opponent wants to trade. So it's a lose-lose situation for your opponent, guys. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Our position is just too good, and there's no way to stop this mate. The two different mates that we have in this position. Our opponent is probably going to resign in 3, 2, 1. I guess not. This guy just doesn't know how to resign. Instead, he just lets us checkmate him on rook f2. And that's that. Alright guys, so that's a pretty interesting game. I mean, it's a short game, but I think it's a pretty instructive one and a very important one for you guys to look at in your own games in order for you guys to, play the Philidor correctly. Let's do a quick game review. Alright, the quick game review, since we have a little bit of time, since our game today didn't take too long, we played with a 94.8% accuracy, which is only around a net 2300 level, which is around my rating in real life. And so as you guys can see in this position, yeah, the Philidor is a pretty decent opening. You give your opponent a slight edge. I mean, that's every opening as white, as black, and then wait for the opponent to blunder. And in this position, you can tell the knight blunder was definitely a mistake. If he didn't take with the knight and he took here, then these are my favorite type of positions, because then we try to go for like a King's Indian setup. We go for this massive attack on the king side. But my opponent blundered, and then, well, the rest is essentially history, where we're just up so much material. We're up even more material in this position, and we never let go of the advantage. One thing that I'm actually really surprised is that most of these moves are best moves, excellent moves, which is good, because they're moves that don't make our position worse. Again, I want to reiterate, if you want to get better at winning one positions, don't just keep offering trades and letting your opponent's pieces get better and better. If you do that, you'll always give your opponent an advantage and a way to get and counterplay. And my way of gameplay is always to stop the opponent from getting, any advantage whatsoever. Even though it is a boring play style, I think it's a very good play style. Now it says we could have played bishop c4 check, which makes a lot of sense why this move is good, because any way he blocks, we just take. And then if he blocks here, then the queen h1 is mate. But again, it doesn't really matter at this level. Rook d2 is just as good, guys, right? Because you can calculate it's nothing your opponent can do to stop this at this point. And so that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.